There
Now it is. Better now? Yeah, okay, fine. Kavin Kumar, are you able to hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Perfect, ma'am. Can you put it in the slideshow, ma'am, on the PPT?
Actually, I have put it in slideshow.
Okay, ma'am. Here it is out of slideshow, ma'am.
I am sharing and I have put it in the slideshow.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, can you reshare it again, ma'am? Close the sharing and reshare it again.
If I are able to see my screen,
Yes, ma'am.
now I am going to make it into full mode. Are you able to see the slides now? No?
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am.
You're able to see the slides now.
It's in presenter mode now.
Just a second. So presenter mode, you want to be able to see it?
Yeah, we are seeing it, but okay, ma'am. Next slide is also seen in the same slide in the presenter mode. The current slide as well as the next slide, both slides are being shown here.
Oh, it's both slides are being shown, is it?
Yes, ma'am.
1 second, then how am I going to change it? Just a second. I have to get some help from my team. Just a second, please. I'm stopping to share and then I'll come back again and then I start sharing again. Yourself like so it's more like a heat wave that goes up and down. So that's what is usually called as an heat wave, and that is how the meteorological organization calls as a heat wave. And usually heat wave will not be considered as a heat wave unless the temperature reaches in the plains, for example, Chennai, about 40 degree. And then for hilly regions like Ooty, Kodaikanal and other places, if it's more than 30 degrees, then it is usually considered as a heat wave. Again, like I said, it has to be at least 5 days of heat wave in those regions, and then it should be at least 5 to 6 degrees departure from the normal temperatures of that area, and that is usually called as heat wave. If it goes beyond 7 degrees, like what's happening in Delhi right now, we are having a severe heat wave departure from the regular one. Okay, and like so extreme heat and fixed thresholds, what happens in India? In India in 2003, we had the same temperature signal as that of Sahara Desert. Okay, this is all the kind of signal we got in India, and now it's actually becoming a truth, right? This year, Delhi temperatures, Rajasthan temperatures, even Chennai temperatures, Vellore temperatures were not the best. Okay, due to heat, the number of heat deaths tripled in the last 20 years. And that is only the documented ones we are seeing. Many a times it's not even documented. Now the government of India has come up and said that, all heat related illnesses all the heat stroke should be recorded now. Before, many a times when it is not even documented and it is not even recognized as heat stroke, and people just die and they say it's a heart attack or something like. Now they have been training and I will come towards the end of it. They have been training the health workforce to recognize these heat related illnesses and heat strokes and everything. In 2019, heat killed about 46,000 people in India. And just last week, we had about 40,000 heat-related heat strokes and heat-related illnesses getting admitted in Delhi. So you can see compared to last year, what's happening this year. Okay. There are when we speak about heat, how it impacts, there is something called heat stress that we need to understand. There are two kinds of things when it comes to heat stress. Heat stress is usually called a condition by which exposure to extreme heat, it occurs when a body is unable to maintain the healthy temperature in response to exposure to a hot ambient temperature or something like that. Heat sources can be from two areas. One is can be from the ambient temperature. Second thing, it can be from the radiant temperature. Like, I have given here a picture of the steel industry that we are working with, and it where heat. Sorry.
Slides are not moving, ma'am.
Oh my goodness! I'm so sorry. What is happening here?
Can you do it from current slide in the slideshow tab? Can we have that option from current slide?
At the top, from
At the
current,
top,
from current slide, if you just click it.
slide control layer.
மேல அந்த ரிப்பன்ஸ்ல வந்து from beginning from current slide இருக்குல்ல மேம், அந்த from current slide மட்டும் கிளிக் பண்ணுங்க.
Where is it? I'm so sorry. The three dots,
இல்லைங்க மேம், நீங்க வெளியில வந்துருங்க மேம் அந்த ஸ்லைட் ஷோல இருந்து.
I'll stop sharing and then.
Okay, ma'am. You can share it again, ma'am.
Just a second. Okay, I have stopped sharing, and then if I want to share again, I go to it and then do what?
You share the slides, ma'am.
I am sharing the slides right now. Are you able to see my slides?
Yes, ma'am. It's being shared. At the
Yeah.
top, you just see in the ribbon, ma'am. From current slide, from the beginning, so many options are there, right, ma'am?
From current slide.
Yes, ma'am. You just click it, ma'am.
Office presentation service.
Next, ma'am. Second option from current slide. From the
current slide, yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay, ma'am.
We have never faced something like this before. This is the first time. Anyway, that's fine. We were speaking. I will go back to the previous slide because we were talking about this just to give an understand. And the heat gets transferred from one body to another. So you're able to see the slide that has ambient temperature and radiant heat?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine then. Okay. So heat is usually getting transferred from one body to another body, which is called a radiant heat. So it doesn't have to be from the sun you get it and when your body gets hot. Similarly, if you're exposed to some very hot ambient temperatures, like in the steel industry, we can see that, the furnace, it's about 1,800 degrees in that area. And people who are exposed, they attract the heat and it gets transferred from one body, from the hot body to the colder body. And who is vulnerable to heat, right? No? Not everybody is vulnerable. Everybody is vulnerable. Everybody gets affected, but who is most vulnerable is the children, elderly, worker groups are the most vulnerable, and that's where my expertise comes from. I work with occupational groups across India on heat. Just not India, we also work internationally with occupational groups because they are the most vulnerable. Pregnant women are very vulnerable, and one of the studies that we had published about heat-related pregnancy outcomes among working women in informal sectors and migrants, people who are exposed a lot to heat and other core risks in the environment. We also have personal risk factors. Like I said, an individual gets more affected if the person is wearing heavy clothing, clothing that is not light color, clothing that is like a dark in color, or it's thick clothing that will inhibit the evaporative cooling. Dehydration, if a person is obese and not fit, the person who is not acclimatized, somebody who has other kind of diseases and other comorbidities, somebody who takes certain kind of medications, for example, a person with hypothyroidism or a hypothyroidism, they're taking medications, heat will affect them a little bit more differently than a regular person. Age and gender also makes a big difference. So how does it like really happen? What happens when a person is exposed to heat? I will take an example of a heat exchange of a worker. There are two things that happens. There are external factors that affect the worker. One is the solar radiation, the air temperature, the air humidity, and the ground reflected thermal radiation. These are the four factors that are called the external factors, plus the wind that will be affecting the worker when he is working outside or even inside. Like I said, the radiant temperature showed you, it is also like that. For when the second thing that impacts the worker is the metabolic heat that he's producing while he's working. There are different types of metabolic heat levels that can be produced inside the body. For example, somebody like me who's sitting and then maybe walking a little bit, that's called light work. And then there are different levels of work and there are standards for that. For example, a construction worker who is doing bar bending, or a brick worker who is like, making the bricks, and steel worker, the picture I showed you earlier, they're all called heavy workload, and they would expend about 300 to 400 kilowatts per hour. Okay, so that is called usually heavy work. That is the amount of heat that is generated inside their body. These two things plus their what clothing they are wearing. When I showed the picture of this steel worker, he was wearing an aluminium overall because he has to protect himself from heat. That itself has an evaporative cooling inhibiting factor of 6, which is called a Clow value. So it depends on what kind of clothing we are wearing, plus the conduction and with the evaporation, sweat and respiration. Based on all of this, these are all the factors that play around when a person is actually working in heat. What usually happens is if the heat produced by the body is not lost, then there is a thermal imbalance that happens. How is heat gained by the body? Like I told, it is by the metabolic heat load, the convection, radiation, conduction and everything. And how is heat lost? Again by the evaporation, convection, radiation, conduction. If these are not matching each other and the person starts to gain more and more heat inside the body, then it is called a thermal imbalance, and that is the basis for all the problems that is called because of heat. Second thing, heat stress. If a person is in a state of heat stress, that leads to heat strain. Okay, in community medicine lab, you would have studied all of this, but I'm just like refreshing it. The level of activity required in response to thermal stress from systems such as cardiovascular, thermoregulatory, respiratory, and endocrine constitute the thermal strain in the body. Okay. Sweating is the first natural defense mechanism that the body does to protect itself. Okay. And your sweat is secreted all over the body to allow cooling via evaporation. Exocrine sweat glands perform the thermoregulatory function, and there are about 2 to 4 million glands distributed over the entire surface of the body. And this is a major method of maintaining your core temperature in hot conditions. There will be electrolyte changes. So when you're sweating, automatically there will be changes in your electrolytes. So it can significantly reduce your calcium and the sodium and potassium in your body. And many organs depends on the ionic gradients across cell membranes to support electrolyte activity. And failure to maintain these electrolyte activity often results in muscle cramps and gastrointestinal disturbances. So this is also an outcome of heat strain. Okay, loss of just about 2% body mass in fluid may increase heart rate and decrease blood volume, which not only makes you feel under the weather, but also reduce your endurance to heat. Okay, here, let's say, like I said, I'm talking about workers who are working. So after like they lose about 2% of their body mass, which happens within the 2 to 3 hours after working in the sun, they are not able to continue working also. They get into heat exhaustion and heat fatigue, which is happening already. And if they continue to work without stopping, that's when they get into heat stroke. And I think this is what happened in Delhi or in Chennai, where a person in Madurai died because of heat stroke in a construction industry. Okay. So next thing is when you keep continuing to lose your sweat, or automatically you get into the state of dehydration. Okay. And this can actually reach up to, like, for people who are working in hot environments, when I say about 10 to 15 liters in a day, they will be losing. You might not trust me, but with the steel worker that I showed, he's working in 1800 degree temperature, right? So he sweats about 1.8 to 2.4 liters in 1 hour. And that data is there with us. So it is when somebody reads like 10 to 15 liters in a day, give me a break on that. No, it's true. Actually, when we are sleeping in the night, without air conditioner, you lose about 800 ml. And we are talking about people who are sweating, right? So what are the consequences of dehydration when you sweat a lot? Reduce blood volume, impact cardiovascular stability, reduce physical and cognitive performance, because your thermoregulatory mechanism is very much connected to your brain, and then your cognitive performance kind of goes down. Elevated skin temperatures, reduce heat tolerance, reduction in benefits of heat adaptation, increased risk of heat illnesses, and that is what is happening across the country right now. Heart rate. Competition, there is a competition that happens between the muscle and the skin. Whether the blood flow should be towards the extremities to cool yourself, or should it go to the muscles and do, or to the other organs to kind of help working. But so that puts a lot of pressure on the heart. So that is why we have cardiovascular issues. There are different types of impacts that happens. We have systemic impacts as well. You get headache, loss of coordination, confusion and anxiety. Kidney gets affected a lot. We have done a lot on heat-related kidney diseases, and we have found different sectors, like mostly occupational groups, having different kinds of kidney disease. And skin is flushed, clammy, and profuse sweating happens. But when your core temperature approaches about 40-42, your sweating completely stops. So you become like dry. And that is the biggest sign of heat stroke. And mouth, when it becomes intensely thirsty and dry mouth happens. And like I said, even when you're approaching your heat stroke, your brain stops sending signals for thirst. So you're actually not feeling thirsty at all. Okay, that's when the confusion, anxiety, and the loss of coordination happens. Heart, rapid heartbeat, irregular heartbeat, reduced blood flow, heart attack could happen. And that is like that is connected to heat stroke as well. Lungs, increased breath rate, worsened allergies and asthma, because you're inhaling all the, because your breath rate, increased birth rate increases, you're also having more pollution, worsened COPD. All of this can happen because of heat stress. So there is usually a sequence. When I keep speaking about heat stroke, nobody gets a heat stroke right away unless it's an acute heat impact. Okay. So usually what happens is the brain activity slowly starts to go down. Like I said, there is a confusion. Your body temperature is supposed to be 37.8, right? So if there is a 1 degree rise in your core temperature, usually you call it as a fever. Usually what happens is, when your body temperature, when somebody is working, somebody is like jogging, means, and imagine yourself to be a worker, and then you're jogging or you're working outside, your core temperature slowly starts to increase. Unless your core temperature increases, you're not going to be sweating at all. Okay, because like I said, that's a natural defense mechanism. So this 1 degree rise in temperature gives you a state of fever. That's when you start to thinking slowly, because your blood flow from the brain is not going to the brain as much. It is going to the extremities for your sweating. So yeah, next, if this continues, like from 1 degree to it increases to 1.5 or 1.8 or 2, then you slowly start to get drowsy. Because again, like I said, your brain does not get enough blood, right? It is not getting enough blood so that it can start functioning in a better manner. Next, if it goes to 2 degree, 2.5 degree, confused, next delirious, then up to the coma. When you reach 42 or 43 degree, again, there is a lot of individual variabilities that can happen, but this is the usual continuum of heat-related illnesses, okay? And when it comes to the brain activity, you will get heat cramps, like I said, because of the electrolyte imbalance. Heat exhaustion could happen. That is something all of us have faced in living in Tamil Nadu or living in India, right? And then finally, when the core temperature rises to max, you get into a state of heat stroke. I guess some examples of heat strokes I have put here, like heat edema can happen, heat rashes can happen, heat cramps, heat tetany, heat syncope, heat exhaustion, and finally heat stroke. But this is preventable when a person is in a state of heat syncope, and if the treatment is given properly, it is recognized at heat stroke, the person can be avoided going into a state of heat stroke. Like I said, we also have cognitive impairment. Like I said, because your brain is not getting enough blood when you're in a state of heat, it also creates some confusion, and then you're not able to actually do the cognitively well. See, many times in the construction industry and in workplaces, when a person is in a state of heat, you do find that there are a lot of accidents that are happening. One thing is like cognitive impairment. Second thing is aggressive behavior. Okay, the person is like, we have actually measured the number of accidents that are happening in workplaces when they are in heat, and we have found a very, very strong signal that heat can lead to.
This is a reminder. Time for a snack.
Sorry.
This is a reminder. Time for a snack.
So usually, like, we also see when a person is working, the workers are working in heat conditions. In summer, we find more aggressive behavior and more interpersonal skills with the supervisor and their own peers. This has also been studied, and it has been published in Los Angeles. When the temperature is, and it's Los Angeles is quite hot. When it reaches 65 to 70 degrees, they have found, researchers have found that there has been an increase in the crime rate, because the body brain becomes a little bit more aggressive. It suppresses the thyroid hormone, resulting in functional hypothyroidism, lethargy, low mood, and cognitive impairment happens. So that is the cause for the accidents that can happen in workplace, because the motor coordination and your cognitive coordination are not matching. Heat does not only have health related impacts, it also has indirect impacts that would impact the people, just not the workers, but everybody. Like I said, we will have more work related accidents. You will have falls and injuries because of this cognitive impairment. Apart from that, because of heat, we will also have an increased transmission of vector-borne diseases. There'll be the disruption of infrastructure, power, water, that can lead to other things also. From our own studies, I will tell you some key findings. When it comes to workers, we have about 65.5 to 65.2% of workers who are working above safe limits, and 34 point workers like less in summer. And the measured physiological changes, for example, the heat strain, we have measured actually heat strain in workers, and then about 43% of the workers who have heavy workload or having physiological changes that are adverse. And again, when we are also working with women, we found about 32% of the pregnant women who are working in workplaces, especially informal workplaces, without toilets especially, they have 32% risk of reporting APO, which is like adverse pregnancy outcomes. It has been published as well. 92% of these people have said that, yes, we have less productivity in workplaces. Means economy is also getting affected and those people are also getting much poorer. And about 49% of prevalence of renal health issues, kidney related issues are prevalent in all these places. People have lower kidney function because we are working in heat for some time. So all this work that we have done, we have generated evidence, just not us, like, worldwide evidence is being generated. But with or without evidence, there is a need for action. Okay? We cannot find evidence and then go and say that in Delhi, we could have avoided the 50, in 2 days, we had 50 deaths, correct? And 40,000 people are affected. We cannot wait for another 5 years to get evidence and then, then go and make we need to start making adaptations right away. Okay. So adaptation management, because we have a problem, we know that, and we need to find a solution. Okay. There are different ways of adapting. One is how to adapt the body, how to adapt at work, how to adapt at home, and then how to adapt in the environment, because the environment is the major change that one has to make. But is it possible to make the change? Can we put an umbrella under the sun? It's not possible. So there are other adaptation techniques that have to be done. How can we do it in the body? Management and adaptation to extreme temperatures requires an awareness of the heat spots. One thing, like I said, you can prevent many issues, heat-related illnesses, if you know how to recognize the signs and symptoms. Okay. We should first try and reduce the initial core temperature rise inside the body. The TC, the core temperature inside the body, individuals can actually do it by drinking water, by cooling themselves, few things, right? Avoidance of thermal risk and early recognition of heat stress are the cornerstones for prevention. This can happen at workplace as well. Second thing is heat acclimatization. Heat acclimatization is an adaptive response to the hot environment, in which individual body learns to better tolerate exposures to excessive heat. This adaptation is kind of temporary, and it may take 2 weeks for it to get the adaptation, but also loses it after you are not exposed to it for 2 weeks. So when I say adaptation, we say that there is an electrolyte imbalance. So when the person is acclimatized for 2 weeks, I will explain it when it comes to the work adaptation. The body kind of learns how to not let go of its electrolytes in an efficient way. That is what acclimatization means. Between 50 to 70% of outdoor fatalities occur in the first few days of employees working in warm weather. This happened in Chennai too, in Sri Perumbudur. This is because the body needs to gradually build its tolerance to heat over time. So acclimatization is very, very important, not only for workers, but also for regular individuals. Cooling, the main intention of cooling, such as submerging the body in cold water or, splashing water, drinking cool fluids or something like that. It will reduce this is to reduce your core temperature and your skin temperature as well. Cool water immersion has been shown to be superior to alternative cooling measures to quickly lower the body temperature. Many a times when you see our ancestors, when they were working in the fields, they would be standing or during breaks, they will go and wash their legs and extremities, right? Which is not happening in our industries right now. So we are suggesting many industries have trucks of water where these workers can actually, it is very cheap. Just go and submerge their hands and legs. Extremities are the ones that needs to be cooled first. So these are simple techniques that can people can adapt. So what can happen at work? It cannot just happen with the employees or the employers or the workers. It has to be, it is like a cycle that needs to be done with the governments, with the workers and with the employees working together on this. Okay. Enforcement, government should be enforcing occupational health, safety health standards, early warning systems and all of that. And designing, implementation and monitoring adaptation of occupational health and safety policies should be done. And workers should be cooperating. They should be, if there is a policy, for example, a heat action plan that is being implemented, workers should be cooperating with it, and employers should be amending enforcing and management of the government policies, customizing it for their own needs, which is very, very important. Personal cooling things, one is what the government does, what the employer does is something. How can one person actually cool oneself personally at an individual is very important. Heat related illnesses detection and management. People who are working in high heat conditions, they need to have a heat surveillance, more like a noise management, right? You know, in noisy areas when a worker is working, usually they will be doing audiometry for them every 6 months or something like that. But when it comes to heat, it is not even considered as an issue because in India, heat is considered as a natural thing. So heat related illnesses detection and management, it should be like a program, okay? Worker training and education and management of HRA and heat waves. That's very, very important. It is now happening in some major construction industries. Okay. Like I said, acclimatization should happen when you slowly ease into work. Nearly 3 out of 4 fatalities happen during the first week of work. You should build the tolerance to heat by increasing the intensity by 20% each day. It's not happening in a big, large scale, but slowly, very, very slowly, Indian construction companies and Indian brick industries, slowly they are trying to employ all of this. Okay. Like I said, when the body gives you a signal saying that I am going into the state of heat exhaustion, people should be taking breaks. Okay, how did our ancestors? They were all working. There was no automation at that time. People were still living. I know the temperatures were not as bad as it is right now, but they didn't have as much technology as we have right now. Now we can have a hand fan, which is available for 800 rupees. But at that time, people were left to what the nature gave us. But they used to self-pace. Self-pacing means just resting, so that the body goes back to normal core temperature and continue working. But now what's happening is in many of these industries, you only have your first break in your 2.5 or third hour, correct? So by the time when your core temperature continues to rise, and then you are not resting because like you are in a line or something, that is when the problem starts to come. Your core temperature should not go beyond 1 degree. So rest for long enough to recover from the heat, which is something that we are trying to work with the industries to see if this can happen. Take breaks in a cool and shady area. For example, the steel industry worker I showed you, if he is taking a break, having a coffee or a tea near the furnace, there is no point, right? Wear hat and dress for the heat, watch out for each other, verbally check workers wearing for face coverings, things like that. Adaptation at home. Active cooling systems. This is something that India has. Most of the houses have evaporative coolers, regenerative air conditioning, if possible. But many of these poor slum dwellers and everything, they have fans and everything. So India that way is progressing quite well. But the best solution would be passive cooling measures. Blocking the heat using natural material, limit interior heat sources, removing interior heat if you have furnaces or biomass cook stoves and stuff like that, those can be removed. Passive building material is going to be the next thing that's going to be taking over the world, because yes, you have energy, you have solar energy and everything, but passively cooling your own homes, like what our ancestors traditionally did, is going to be the next building regimes. Many times we think about economics of heat management, okay? Increasing your ventilation is of no cost at all, right? Closing the windows and shutters during a very sunny day is again no cost. Having lighter meals, use cooking techniques that do not release much steam. Inside the body, on a hot summer day afternoon, you have a pizza. Compared to you will be generating so much heat to digest it. But if you're having, let us say, buttermilk or fermented rice, right? Now it is sold in ITC for 800 rupees or something. There is a difference, right? So you want no cost adaptation techniques, they are available. Drink enough water. If you have air conditioners or something, I mean, the heat can enter, right? So you can use the draft stoppers and stuff like that. hang medium shades, curtains or shutters when it's in the sun. And then medium cost, you can have regular fans, apply solar window films if possible, and install temporary shading structures or planters on the balcony roofs. And these are all things that you can do from in your home itself. Yeah, they are cheap. What can you do for the environment? Okay, this is something that we can also contribute. Don't say government should do. Like I said, government cannot put an umbrella under the sun because we are the end users. We have created the climate change in small bigger ways, right? Sustainable cooling, climate action and sustainable cooling, mitigating climate change by reducing greenhouse gases. Everybody is working. We are going towards net zero in a few decades, and we need to be prepared. First and foremost, if heat season is coming, we need to be prepared. If like we are getting prepared for floods and everything, we need to be prepared for heat season. Like how did we conquer COVID? India conquered COVID much better than any country in the world. Okay, so we can also conquer heat because it's like a silent killer. It's killing like 40,000, 50,000 people. And is it anything less than an epidemic? But this is going to continue. COVID stopped, but this is going to continue, right? And again, there should be something, we have to still continue creating parallelly more epidemiological evidence. Epidemiological evidence is needed only because we need to understand the behavior of the people, why they are doing certain things, why heat action plans are not followed, why it is not, and then what are the other kind of hazards, co-risks for heat. All of this we need to do, and who is most vulnerable, so that the policies and everything can be changed. So that's it. But we have a long way to go when it comes to conquering heat. Government has some initiatives. We have a national heat action plan. They are like accelerating it. They are making sure that every district has an office for managing heat. These are all a few things that were done in Tamil Nadu as well. So it's we are all aware, but how much of it is that we are doing to manage this is most important. Anyway, all the work that we did is because of the little ones that I have with me, and this is on behalf of everybody who contributed and all my PhD students that I thank you. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, ma'am, for this wonderful enlightening session, because we even don't know that the various facts that you mentioned, that even we lost 10 to 15 liters of water as a sweat if you're working in extreme heating conditions. So the knowledge you shared is very will be very useful for us to gain more exposure in the heat-related illnesses. So the forum is, thank you, ma'am. The forum is open for discussion. If anybody has some questions, we can discuss.
Participants, kindly put your queries in the chat box, or you can just unmute and ask the question directly to me.
One personal question from my side.
Yeah, please.
Ma'am, you said about the use of building materials that we are going in the ancestors direction, that they have used very high set balconies or high set terrace or something. So what is your experience, ma'am, in your visiting industries and various areas? So how would this we are going, how will be the future, or how is the agenda being set in the international forums, ma'am?
International forums, they are actually learning from India. Many places are learning from India. In fact, many of our industries, they are actually changing. Like when there are one industry and then they are building an additional space or something. All of these we are being considered, because like there is a huge issue when it comes to heat. For example, a company in Bangalore, like we are going from Chennai. I'm an industrial hygienist, so they invite me for some industrial hygiene consultancies. So when I went there, it was in September, and you can imagine Bangalore being so cool, and we would go from Chennai, hot, sweltery and everything. And there was a big movement there in this big company. It's a multinational company. And the issue was here, auto manufacturing. And the issue there was all these workers were protesting that it is because it's too hot to work. Chennai, come and see Chennai, our auto industries, where most of our workers like have the heat rashes and everything in their backs and all of that. So heat, now people are becoming very, very cognizant of the fact that workers are not ready to work in heat. Migrant workers are, because like they have, they are compelled to work, or their personal problems are compelling them to work. But let me tell you something, like there is a lot of issues with when it comes to heat. And we are Indian industries, not all of them. Some of them are thinking very, very innovatively. They have high ceilings. They have this large roof ventilators, and they are using white paints. One of the things in heat action plan, the Indian government also has said, most of the houses, like the terraces, should be painted painted white, not darker color, terracotta color, something, because white will reflect heat out. So few things like that. And also the construction industry is coming with like different kind of bricks, different kind of paints and stuff like that. So we are actually going back to original what we used to do a few decades ago. Most of the construction industries, when they are having a shelter, before they used to have a sheet shelter, and that would be even hotter for these workers to go reside and work. Now they are making like, shelters made with coconut thatched roofs, which is cheap, which is very, very cheap, but it's much cooling. So small changes are happening. Many other countries are even learning from us a few things. So I would say that we understand things. How much are we ready to implement is a question. Okay, many things in India we always understand. Only thing is what how much are we going to adapt? What speed are we going to adapt is the question here. I think we have some questions in the chat box also.
Yes, ma'am. One question is, ma'am, how does climate change affect trends of waterborne diseases?
Sorry, can you come again? How does climate change affect trends of vector-borne diseases? See, like I said, when you speak about vector-borne diseases, we are not only speaking about temperature, we are also speaking about humidity. We are also speaking about the seasonality of this unseasonal precipitation, rains and everything. So only heat is not going to be affecting the vector-borne disease. Vector-borne diseases, we are going to get diseases in seasons that we did not expect it at all. Munnadila, dengue used to be there only after the rains. We used to have malaria after a certain time. But now things are changing. You are getting rain, you are getting the unseasonal floods, unseasonal rains, unseasonal temperatures and stuff like that. I think the last few decades, we have not had heat waves in July. But now this year we are expecting these to happen. All of that would change the way the vectors also work. So we are going to get unseasonal vector-borne diseases during times that we didn't expect. So health system preparedness is the adaptation technique that so that we can protect those people. Next question is, what peculiar character of greenhouse gases make them trap heat compared to other gases? What peculiar? No. It's not about the peculiarity of the greenhouse gases. What usually happens is these greenhouse gases go and kind of form an umbrella above our Earth's atmosphere just before the stratosphere, and then heat that is entering the universe, the Earth, is trapped inside and it's not able to go back. Some of it go back, some of it stays inside. It's like having an umbrella, and then some of the heat is entering, but it's not able to go on. The example that I would give is when you go to a mall or something and you park your car and go inside, you have glass, right? That is why it's called greenhouse gases. Greenhouse, we used to put glass. Glass has a property that it will trap the heat and keep it inside. That is why our universe is like getting warmer and warmer and warmer, because you have this layer above, and then the UV radiation is not able to go back. So it is not only the peculiarity of the greenhouse gases, all of it together, including your moisture, including your water vapor, they all kind of trap it. I hope I was able to answer that question. But the person also can mute and unmute and talk to me. That's okay.
Hello, Vilash. Do you want to ask further more questions? Okay. Does anyone has any clarifications? One more question. Kindly enlighten us more about periodic screening for heat-related illnesses.
Yeah, when you say periodic screening, I can give an example of the steel industry where we had given them an heat management program. For example, I showed the picture of this worker who is working near the furnace. Okay, so that person is actually going to be exposed to quite high temperatures all the time. So what we had suggested to the industry is like that worker has to be screened for kidney issues, any heat, any heat related organ, including checking their cardio systems, respiratory systems, everything. They need to have a periodic screening. For example, periodic screening in the sense, for noise, usually we say every 6 months. And then after the 6th month, if you see there is a change in the kidney function, I'll just give you the example of kidney. If there is a reduction or increase in the serum creatinine or a reduction in the EGFR, then that person should be removed from that area. And or if they first start forming kidney stones, so the workers who are working in these industries, high heat zones, they are all also asked to go ultrasound scans. So if they see any formation of stones or something like that, it could also be because of the way they eat food and everything. But all of that get accelerated because of the exposure to heat. So that kind of periodic screening is what we suggest to these people. Dr. Nirmal, are you like okay with the answer?
Yes, ma'am. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. This is Dr. Vijay Karthikeyan. It was a very nice lucid presentation. Just I wanted to ask you, can you just enlighten us on this COP Summit 28, which took place in the December, which was set by the United Nations?
Mm-hmm. No, cost
solutions which was taken place at the international forum meeting.
See, the thing is, I have my issues with COP. So it generally speaks about, like I said, I keep giving this example saying that, I'm going to put, we can't put an umbrella under the sun. Am I correct? I'm not being negative here. But the thing is, many a times, like I said, I am a person who is working in the area of occupational health, just not but when it comes to climate change and health, COP28, they have not taken climate change and health into a very, very serious things. They are talking about glaciers, they are talking about this, that, but when it comes to health related resolutions, very few resolutions were taken. Okay, so we are trying to represent ourselves like with a few other things, including on the women and pregnancy. When it comes to climate change and women are disproportionately affected. That is something we are trying to push as well. Like I said, there are too many things when it comes to health. Somebody would say children health is most important. Somebody would say workers health is more important. Somebody would say like vector-borne health is more important. And so they are touching too many things, and people who are able to push something with an agenda are able to get into COP28 or COP29. So people who are doing the work but not able to get into COP28 or 29 does not even see that something like this exists. So many of us have issues with all of this, but it's still a very positive step. I'm not saying it's not. It's a very, very positive step. But we need to go a long way. That's what I would say. We have a long way to go before we achieve something. But by the time the damage is already happening, health is going to be impacted. People are going to, there is going to be a lot of burden on the health systems, because I think that's more appropriate for you. The community health is going to be impacted quite a bit because of heat, unless we do put adaptations into place. COP28 also focused a little bit on adaptations, which is fantastic. But like I said, we need more of adaptation rather than finding evidence. Evidence is important, but we can't wait for the evidence to come before we start to adapt. Thanks, Vijay.
So thank you, ma'am. Thank you for being here and sharing the immense knowledge of heat and heat-related illnesses in this context and observing the World Environmental Day this month. So thank you for being here, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you very, very much for the opportunity. It was a pleasure for me, and I have another meeting I have to go to. So any questions, the email is there with Kavin Kumar Saravanan. So anybody who wants to get in touch with me for any other issues, or if you have any more doubts, please do that. Thank you very, very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, ma'am. Dear participants, we will go to the next presentation on the topic of own health in the lens of lower middle income countries, for which I would like to welcome Dr. Vignesh. He did his MBBS from Maulana Azad Medical College at Delhi University, following which he did his master's MD in community medicine at AIIMS, New Delhi, following which he has held various positions at AIIMS, New Delhi, following which currently he is working as an assistant professor in the Department of Community Medicine at ESIC Medical College and Hospital at KK Nagar, Chennai. So he has various publications at international journals, around more than 30 publications. And his area of interest include community ophthalmology, NCD epidemiology, and systematic review meta-analysis. So handing over to Dr. Vignesh for further presentation. Thank you.
Hello and good morning to everyone. I hope my voice is clear.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Great. Good morning, and thank you for inviting me to participate in this. And I also hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yeah, great. So I see that most of the participants are from the community medicine discipline. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, great. Fine. So we'll start ahead with the presentation if it's all fine.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. I don't know what the issue is. Let me quickly share my screen again. So I hope the screen is visible now.
Yes, sir. It's
Fine. So how many of you have seen this movie, these two movies? I hope a few of you have seen this, especially Contagion became very famous during COVID, right? So there are two movies. The one is Virus. It is there in Prime Video. You can see that. This is basically a story of how Nipah virus outbreak happened in Kerala and how the emotions related to the outbreak, etc. Contagion, on the other hand, the last scene of Contagion shows how the patient zero emerged, right? There was a there was deforestation. Migrating from one place to another. Am I still audible?
yes, sir. You are.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So there was there was rapid urbanization leading to bat ecosystem damage, leading to bat migrating from forests to where cultivation was happening, and the how it transmitted influenza virus to the pigs, and then it got transmitted to the humans, and it was for that time, for that 2011 time, I guess it was a extremely good, well shot movie, because it showed many concepts of One Health, which we actually saw in action during COVID, right? And after this, I guess a few important One Health issues which have been happening in the recent times are, number one is the Nipah virus outbreak, which happened in 2023. The figure, the slide over here shows the bamboo, kind of a bamboo mat which is kept over the palm trees uh, in Bangladesh. In Kerala, they use a cloth to cover such uh, palms or the fruits to protect them from bats. So there was a sixth outbreak, and I guess in Kerala they are expecting one more outbreak in October of 2023, 2024. So that is the latest news which I heard. Right. In the same way, Kyasanur forest disease is also an important disease which is seen in Karnataka, and the monkey fever risk project which happened between Indo-UK partnership for One Health also revealed lot of One Health issues. The rabies cases have been increasing in our country. There have been 47 deaths in Kerala from 2020 to 2023, right? And 18 of those deaths happened in 2023. In the same way, we also see rising antimicrobial resistance. So antimicrobial resistance is a huge problem. I have seen, for example, I have seen amoxicillin from stopping to work in front of my eyes. When I was an intern, amoxicillin was one of the medicines which was very commonly used in community-acquired pneumonia. And as I started practicing during my residency, etc., I saw it not being very useful. And and at the same time, I also saw lot of new antibiotics like piperacillin, tazobactam, and organisms are resistant to all of them. Recently in Bihar, there was a cholera outbreak, O139 Ogawa strain. Have you guys, did you guys hear about this outbreak? This which came from Siliguri, I guess. Yeah. So there was recently an outbreak in Bihar, and this particular strain of cholera was resistant to both doxycycline and ciprofloxacin. And hence we are seeing antimicrobial resistance in action, which is happening at a very fast pace. AMR is going to happen. It's a normal evolutionary process, but we are seeing it happen at a very fast rate. So these are some pertinent issues in the recent times related to One Health. Yeah. And then we obviously have COVID-19 and One Health. How it relates is that COVID-19 itself is a zoonotic disease, probably a zoonotic disease. We are not very sure whether it is a zoonotic disease or whether it was a bioterrorism. But yeah, there are a lot of different pathways which have been shown of how the patient zero emerged. Yeah. So this is a recent news report which I saw in India Today. This again was there in India Today, where in Kerala there was a Nipah virus case in September 23. And then we have climate change at the center of AMR catastrophe over in our country. And in the same way, there are a lot of other vector-borne diseases which we are seeing due to climate change. So these are some important aspects both for climate change and One Health. So now, an important question which we need to ask is: can we only stop with intervening at the level of humans? Are human health interventions enough? So that is a main question which has to be asked. And I guess that is where One Health comes into play. There is surely a interdependence of animal, and human ecosystem. And at the same time, we are also seeing climate change and global warming at an unprecedented scale. Right now, I recently saw a status of one of my colleagues in WhatsApp putting up that he's a resident in emergency medicine, and what he had put was that there were around 40-50 cases of heat related disorders in Delhi, and we have never seen at such a high scale. And one more important aspect is that we are also seeing that there is a issue of food safety, a issue of maybe let us say a biodiversity issue which is being seen. I'm talking about at the level of country and not only at the level of Tamil Nadu per se, but there is a huge destruction to the biodiversity per se. And also there are a lot of animal to environment interface and human to animal interfaces which through which the disease spreads. And that is why what we are seeing is that most of the emerging outbreaks are zoonotic diseases, like around 60 to 70% of the recent emerging outbreaks have been zoonotic diseases. And here comes the concept of One Health. So we just saw that how, I'm sorry? Yeah. Is there any question? Can you please let me know if there is any question?
No, sir, nothing so far. You can continue.
Yeah, sure. So now we come under the umbrella of One Health. So what really is One Health? It's the approach. It's a collaborative approach. A definition has been given by One Health Commission. So what it states is that it's a collaborative, multi-sectoral approach, a transdisciplinary approach which works at local level, regional level, national level, and a global level to achieve optimal health outcome for both humans, animals, and ecosystems. And hence, over here, let me. Yeah. So over here, you can see that there are multiple different sectors and disciplines, and we have a lot of issues which are happening. Again, there are a lot of different issues which are happening at the level of society, which lead to destruction of environment, animal, and maybe human health also. And to combat this, we need a unifying approach which to achieve healthy humans, we also need healthy ecosystems and healthy animals. So this is what the One Health Commission has come up with. And how do we do it? We do it via collaboration, communication, coordination, and capacity building. Because in the end, teamwork is the best work, right? When I first joined MBBS, a story was told to me about a hare and a tortoise, where initially a tortoise won. The next race, the hare knew what has to be done and he cannot rest like the last race. And then the hare won. A third race was conducted, and in that race there was also a river. And in that river, the hare could not cross, but the tortoise could. And then what happened? The tortoise offered the hare to sit on top of it, and then they both swam to the other side, and both of them won. So that is what is coordination. We right now we are working in silos, but however, to actually achieve optimal human health, we cannot stop with working at only human level intervention. For this, we have a One Health umbrella. So this is a concept which was given by One Health Sweden. So this was an initiative to bring all the different disciplines under the umbrella of One Health and healthcare, which conceptualize and that is how they have conceptualized One Health. So even though there is environment, animal health, and human health in this, I think there has always been a special focus on zoonotic diseases and infectious disease which are spread through ecological means in this under this One Health umbrella. It recognizes that there is not only a biomedical domain for intervention, but there is also a socio-economic, geopolitical nature of interventions which is required, and maybe also a transdisciplinary intervention. So today we are celebrating the World Environment Day, and I guess planetary health is at the center of it. What we generally think of is One Health as a subset of planetary health. However, what I feel is that planetary health, eco health, and One Health are basically similar concepts, but emphasis is on slightly different things, which is properly shown in the figure at the right. So planetary health is basically planetary health, which I guess is there in the next slide. So One Health basically stresses upon the connection between human, animal, and environment, with human at the center. While the planetary health, the eco health, focuses more on the environment, and the planetary health is more on both human health and animal health. Now we come to One Health in India. So till now we have just seen an overview of what One Health means. I'll be going slightly faster now because I would like to cover some of the more important aspects. Whatever we saw till now was mere basics. So in India, we have something called as One Health, National One Health Mission. So this was started in 2021, and there are a lot of different ministries which come under this particular mission. The center of this is definitely Indian Council of Agricultural Research, ICMR, and MOHFW, NCDC, and the one for Ministry of Environment, Forest, and Climate Change. These are at the center of it. However, from the veterinary side, we do have NRCW and National Digital Livestock Mission. So for this, we have an Apex Steering Committee, and the main efforts which are taken are there in the center of the circle, that is pandemic preparedness, both for humans and animals, a joint outbreak response, integrated disease surveillance, and strengthening of routine prevention programs. And there is a linkage over here. If if you see over here, there's a linkage over here, and there is a linkage with NGOs, private sector, multilateral organization, academic institutes, etc. In fact, there is a okay, I'll come to that. So now these are the efforts which are taken under National One Health Mission. Over here, we have integrated disease surveillance, which probably sits at the center of the whole mission, where we have clinical and epidemiological data from human, which is through IDSP or IHIP now. Now IDSP is not there anymore, I guess. I mean, IHIP is there, through which the surveillance is happening. There is Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. We have National Digital Livestock Mission and National Referral Center for Wildlife. These are the institutes that in India which provide us with surveillance data of clinical and epidemiological diseases. And then we have disease surveillance programs, environmental sentinel sites and sentinel sites for zoonotic diseases. And we also have data from media like digital media, print media, etc. And we have a network of laboratories. Along with that, there is a joint outbreak response which basically emphasizes on the fact that outbreak response cannot be only a medical response. It needs to be a more multi-sectoral response, a pandemic preparedness and strengthening of routine prevention programs. Now, these are few of the ministries which have One Health department. So these ministries have a separate One Health department. We have 5 different ministries: Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and the Science and Technology. And there are multiple different departments within the ministries which coordinate along with the One Health department. I guess in 2020, a Ministry of Intersectoral Coordination was also formed for a better coordination between the ministries. Then we have One Health surveillance. So till now, I guess I guess it is clear. I hope everything is clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And now we look at surveillance mechanisms not only for human health, but also for others like animal health, environment, and food. So for animal health, we have something called as NADRES, that is National Animal Disease Reporting System. It basically gives us FIR is for outbreaks. This is not FIR from the police or justice system. It is first information report for outbreaks among animals. And then we have DIR, daily incidence cases. We also have animal disease monitoring and surveillance, which kind of serves like IDSP for in the animal health, in the zoonotic health. Then we have different environment testing agencies separately for, let us say, water, soil, and air and meteorological parameters. And we have for food is basically done through either Infolnet or FSSAI. These are the 2 important organizations which help us out. Especially, I guess we should also talk about National Institute of Veterinary Epidemiology and Disease Informatics, which houses the NADRES and EDMAS for the National Animal Disease Reporting System and Animal Disease Monitoring and Surveillance System. So there is this particular national institute which provides surveillance data for us. And then we also have Indian Council of Agricultural Research, which also tells us a lot about livestock. Water monitoring is generally done by CWC, that is Central Water Commission, and it comes under Ministry of Jal Shakti, that is water and sanitation, which also takes care of Swachh Bharat mission in our country. Now we look at One Health institutes at global level. There are some international agencies which work for One Health. I guess CDC Atlanta is one of the most important. The next is there is a United Nations organization called as OIE. That is a world organization for animal health. It is called as Office International de Epizoonotis. And then we have WHO, WHO, which is their FAO. And in our country, we have New Delhi PHFI acts as One Health Hub. We also have a One Health high-level expert panel, which works with United Nations, and it has 26 multidisciplinary experts. They basically focus on the emerging health crisis and how there is a human, animal, and ecosystem interface, and strategies for long-term reduction of the diseases arising out of this. And it also basically they have given a much higher political visibility to One Health than others. We also have a One Health network in South Asia where there are different, there are 7 countries. Basically, they work on NTD, neglected tropical diseases. There are multiple other public health diseases, diseases of domestic animals and wildlife, and they also help in facilitating of surveillance activities and provide capacity for response to emerging infectious diseases. Okay, so next slide is very useful slide, I guess, for you. So many of you would like to get some training in One Health, right? So is there any raised hand? Do we have raised hand over here? No. Yeah. So there are few training programs in One Health. The most important one is Field Epidemiology Training Program. It's a training, certified training course for 2 years. It's mainly a field-based program. There are more than 80 countries. In India also, we have a FETP program in One Health. Generally, it is a collaboration between One Health Hub PHFI, a NGO called as YSR, and ICMR. And the main purpose is to improve the capacity for One Health. Yeah. And then we also have One Health Epidemiology Fellowship Program for Southeast Asia, One Health University Network. So you can go to their website and you can enroll in the fellowship program. They are generally fully funded and you might be able to get a fellowship in this. There are a few other academic aspects of One Health. These are some of the important journals. Now I believe there is a CABI One Health journal also. And then we have Zoonosis and One Health updates from CDC, which is a monthly update. We have yearly conferences both for Southeast Asia region and international conference. And there is a One Health library at One Health Commission, and it's a very nice website, One Health Commission. And you can go to that website. You can just scan this link and you can go to the website. It's a useful website. Not only do we have One Health library, but we also have a separate bulletin for emerging fellowships and research grants in One Health. Now we come to some major challenges in India. So before we talk about the major challenges, I would like to share a small story of me as a resident. So as a senior resident, we are generally given charge of a primary health center in my in my alumnus institute. And over there, once what happened was that I had recently joined and there was a salmonella outbreak. We don't really know whether it is salmonella and E. coli. We probably think it is salmonella. Anyway, there was an outbreak, a diarrheal disease outbreak. And there was an outbreak investigation which was conducted through the health machinery. And we found that mainly the source was through the veterinary means. That is, it was an area with lot of cows and there was cow dung all over. There was a huge gaushala. Gaushala is where there are thousands of cattle over there. And that was the probable source. And the whole village system was very reluctant for doing any sort of intervention at the level of animals through our PHC system. And then obviously, just like we have primary health center, we have a local veterinary, a government veterinary hospital also. And the chief veterinary officer over there holds more power than chief medical officer in such village settings. And yeah, so there we went to this Gaushala and I saw a huge sack of metronidazole, which was given to the cows. So that is probably how the antibiotic resistance also spread. And so this basically was my first foraying into the One Health challenges in our country. At that time, obviously, we tried to work with different departments, and yet there were a lot of, I mean, they all existed in silos. It was a lot of fragmentation was there. And that basically is one of the biggest challenge. That one, there is a disparity in healthcare access. Many of the states in the north do not have the same sort of health facilities which we enjoy in south. The number of doctors, maybe the kind of public health system which is there. Obviously, I cannot speak for all the states. I can speak for Haryana and Rajasthan and Delhi at least. So there is definitely a disparity in healthcare access. And then we have insufficient veterinary facilities for monitoring animal health. For example, from a sub-center or a PHC, every month there is a IDSP form which is going. In fact, now we have IHIP platform which is daily at this moment. But for animal health, we don't have something like that. Then there are also the different ministries which are there, the interdisciplinary silos. From that, what I mean is that every ministry which is there in One Health has its own priorities. They have their own language, and then there is a communication barrier. And then, so all these contribute to us not being able to work together, because the targets are not same for everyone. All the different ministries and their grassroots level bodies have different targets. And because we don't have a unified target, it's a very fragmented system which is there in our country at this moment. And hence maybe a unified target, a same objective and same target for all these different ministries which converge at the grassroots level can help in practicing real One Health. We also have insufficient funding for surveillance and research, mainly for animal health. And then we also have rapid urbanization and environmental degradation that is taking place at a growing scale. I believe every year we are losing close to 200 square kilometers of forest in our country. And then I come to the last slide, that is that of SWOT analysis. The main strength which we have is that we already have a surveillance system. That is one of the main strengths. And we already have existing policies and we have knowledge about how the common diseases are spread. Obviously, I'm not talking about something like COVID-19, which when a new disease comes, we would not have knowledge about it. But generally, we do know most of the outbreaks are known diseases, and we have some information of how these spread. Now, the weakness is that since it is a fragmented system, the interventions which you take at human level alone is not enough. At the level of individual and maybe community is not enough. We also need to take interventions at the level of environment and animal health, and maybe sometimes just through the legal system, etc. It's generally not possible for a doctor at grassroots level to do all that. And second thing is the lack of capacity in One Health. So One Health is not only uh, a field-based approach, it also requires uh, some sort of expertise in research, biomedical research also. And there is a lack of capacity building. And then there is a policy disconnect. And what I mean by policy disconnect is that though we have government policies, the objective of the policies are not always optimal, a very good human ecosystem and animal health. The goal of policies might be much different also. Then there is irregular implementation of the policy, which is there. And lastly, and now let us talk about some of the opportunities which we have in One Health. That is, first is the disease sensitive approach vis-a-vis a disease specific approach. A disease specific approach targets only one disease. A disease sensitive approach has large gain. It does not directly affect the health, but indirectly it has much larger gains than any disease specific approach. Generally through the prevention, the pathway of prevention. Second is that it benefits all the ecosystems, whether it is marine or forest ecosystem, even the urban wildlife which is there. And then it also provides us new interventions for new intervention areas for different disease. The biggest threat which I see is the difference of opinion and difference of priorities across different disciplines. We see it even in the medicine, even among the medical college or institutions itself, that there is a huge difference in the opinion and priorities across different disciplines. And then there is loss of political will.
Ignesh, your audio was not clear.
Powering on.
Hello.
Yes,
Do we
yes.
have any questions? I'm sorry, my webcam, there is some issue.
Fine, fine. You're audible now.
Yeah. Was I not audible before?
No, it was just for a couple of seconds back. Nothing was.
Oh, fine, great. Do we have any questions? I see one in the chat. No. Yeah. So if there are any other questions,
The participants, if you have any queries, you can just put in the chat box or just unmute and ask the questions there.
yeah. I'm sorry.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I just have a query in my mind for the past some time. Why suddenly this One Health approach is gaining more importance in the recent years, sir? Because is it like I feel like is it like a very late realization, or it's because of like soaring high issue of this antimicrobial resistance?
So One Health, the main, I don't think it is something which is a recent trend. One Health has been gaining importance throughout the last 3 decades. In fact, slowly but surely, yes. The main focus on One Health came in 2004 when there was a huge. Sorry? Yeah. Yeah. So the main focus on One Health came during the SARS outbreak of 2004. That was when people realized that we cannot have one separate silo for a human medicine and animal medicine. In fact, Rudolf Virchow, in one of his books called as Zoonosis, did specify in 1780s itself that we should not have a separate medicine for human and animals. That is how it started. Now, what has happened is due to climate change specifically, lot of outbreaks are happening, and many of these outbreaks are zoonotic diseases. And hence, if we want to prevent, like we talk about floor moppers and tap closers, right? So the tap closers are we can only close that tap if we can address the ecosystem animal and human interface which is there. And hence there has been a recent emphasis, a slight trust on One Health. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I can understand, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question?
Recording in progress.
Hello, sir. Just one personal question, sir. This is Dr. Vijay Karthikeyan. So,
Yeah.
do you think that One Health does it require some kind of separate degree, and we need more number of academic institutions, or the emphasis has to be shown towards that side? Is there a need for that, sir, in the future?
Okay. Sir, separate degree might not be required per se. But I do believe that there are community medicine as a specialty is very vast, and there are many different ways by which we can intervene, and all of them require some sort of expertise which are not taught during MD always, or at least it's not very. We do get a bird's eye overview during the MD, but as and when we foray into one specific domain of community medicine, we do pick up some other skills which are generally not taught. And One Health is also something like that. There are multiple. I guess that in One Health, if you have to ask me what are the important areas, I would say that it's not. For example, health administration is given a lot of weightage in MD community medicine. However, for One Health, what we need is a basic understanding of health administration, but a larger understanding of advocacy and how it can be done. And along with advocacy, the research methods are slightly different. Maybe there is a geospatial analysis needs to be done. For many of the One Health research which is done, we need kind of a geospatial analysis, especially when we talk about something like environmental pollution. And then there are concepts of microbiology. For example, there are concepts of microbiology which are not generally taught in the depth which is required to practice One Health, especially for animal outbreaks or human outbreak investigations, for example. So that is where a separate fellowship can help.
Fine.
But otherwise, One Health also is not there are multiple different tools which are available, which I think people can even pick up without a fellowship. a more important aspect would be to actually get opportunities to practice One Health. Yeah.
So any more queries, participants? So we have a small announcement to make. So as I told about the International Hybrid Conference, that is PrevenCon 2025, that we are going to have in Pondicherry from the TADCOM in collaboration with the Lakshminarayana Institute of Medical Sciences, Pondicherry. So it has been planned on 7th and 8th of February, and we are just launching our flyer with the rates for the conference. And the conference theme will be lifestyle medicine revolution from prevention to promotion. And we have different tariff range for TADCOM members as well as non-TADCOM members. And you could find them over the screen. And if you have any queries, and we also have an online workshop on 6th of February, and we even have as it is a hybrid mode, we have presentations in online as well as in offline mode. It will be conducted in Hotel Aditi, Pondicherry. If you have any queries, you can just write to this mail ID, or you can contact the number which has been shown in the flyer. We will be soon circulating it over the WhatsApp groups, and if you want to know anything regarding the conferences, you can just reach us anytime. So any further queries coming? Any questions from your side?
No, Dr. Vijay. I think knowing about One Health is very, very important at this point of time. Dr. Vignesh has given a good insights about One Health, and especially the area which he covered about the practical aspects and his story where he has worked as a resident in the AIIMS New Delhi. The ground level works which we need to know are very, very insightful. So I think the participants will get insights in a good thread from here on, and we can explore more about One Health in the coming days. I once again thank Dr. Vignesh for sharing his knowledge in One Health to our participants.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Vignesh.
On behalf of the West Zone of TADCOM, I would like to thank the resource persons, Dr. Vidya Venugopal Madam and Dr. Vignesh, for accepting our invite and enlightening us on these sessions. And also I thank for the participants for joining the session. E-certificates will be provided in some time. It will take around a week or so. And we will be sharing the e-certificate links to your respective mail ID, which you have just used for the registration, and the feedback form also will be shared. Once you fill it, you will be receiving your e-certificates. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much, and we will see you soon in some other forum, sir. Thank you. And we will be signing off. Thank you.
Thank you.